kind of elements to his blood. He's my twin.
Did he hang to the left or right?
Both.
Oh dear God.
My brother his blood has particular qualities which will help, people recover from various diseases, but he went missing.
Oh, not a lot. The police just think I go around stealing organs, which is completely ridiculous. They're made sandwiches. One sec.
Ooh. You got a lot of ketchup on that. It's absolutely dripping with the stuff.
The meat is raw, but I assure you it's still healthy.
Here we are, doctors.
Fresh.
It's very
this man has come off
stringy.
of his motorbike.
I wonder if they'll give her a knife back.
Well, she needs it to do her job.
And we're getting tasers.
What a guy. Yes, Ryan was telling me about these tasers. Or based on what happened to our adrenaline. Use it to wake someone out of if someone's unconscious, use it to awake them by shooting it in the same place where adrenaline was hit, because that'll wake you.
But then we'd have to figure it out and get the tongs out again.
I guess just tie the other end to a door and slam it.
But I think I've got a date,
Oh, with who? Give us the gossip.
Wayne Kerr?
Wayne Kerr?
Do you know Wayne Kerr?
Never heard of him.
Oh, hi, it's April. How are you?
I see you've been promoted. Hey, we're gonna rate some drinks with the boys. Hey, go for a few beers.
Yes. I would love to have a couple of drinks of tequila.
Yeah.
Let me.
I don't know what I think about this dance you're doing there, Morgan. It's quite unsettling.
Oh.
Keep going, I like the music.
Quite the pivot with those shoes.
You'll give Elvis a run for his money of those moves.
I've got very flexible
I don't understand
hips.
it. It's like your arms are moving but staying still at the same time.
I'm curious why you.
Since you've been promoted, your whole attitude has changed and you're being snobby, rude, and short.
And light.
Well, tall, not short.
Yes, actually, I'm very tall.
Well, seeing as we're all smart people, seeing as we're all medical staffed, you'll know that short has two meanings.
What? By God.
I woke up and I had like stitches on my right side.
Is your name Wayne by any chance?
Oh, well, our surgeon here will be able to help.
My name is Wayne, yes.
Guess who's here? Oh, sorry. Guess who's here? Guess who's here, Morgan?
Who?
It's Wayne Kerr.
Why is Wayne here?
How about we do this thing? In like a sitcom where someone tells you what to say. And I can do it over the radio.
Owen?
Hey there, hot cheeks.
Can we have a word outside?
Yeah, of course. I don't know. I just woke up near the cat cafe. I was telling my friends that I'd met with someone called Morgan. I don't know if it's Morgan, but.
Oh dear. Oh goodness me.
What's happened?
By God.
What is it?
This man's missing his kidney.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting a good stretch here.
Oh.
Got very
quite
strong
close.
leg muscles.
Yes, it's,
What
are
is
you
it?
heading to this event in the town hall?
The seminar?
That's right.
Yes, I will be attending.
Maybe we should compare cars and then decide who gets what words are happening.
You want us to both get out our models and compare them next to each other?
Yeah, see how the engines rev.
I'm sure mine makes a better purr.
My tailpipe is known to bang.
My gear shift is... I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Automatic. Whoa!
Uh-oh.
Whoa!
Fasten that seatbelt, Doctor. We're almost there.
I would like to remind all attendees that violence is not the answer. I would be happy to answer.
Yes. Do we have any questions?
What is this horse shit?
Darling, I have a.
I don't like it.
I've changed my mind. I hate this.
We need to get out of here right now.
I will not be taking part in
I'm especially excited to announce that today is the day that we will all ascend to the celestial plane together.
Good God! Oh! Save me, Doctor! The first bullet went straight through me. Okay, I've just been shot. Maybe take it a bit easy on the driving.
this. Okay. I'm going to extract the bullet and seal the wound, okay?
Use your mouth. Suck that bullet out.
Hey, Carp.
Oh, yes.
There we go, it's out.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I can do it.
Feeling so.
God, she was hit multiple times.
Sweating blood,
Doctor,
I need help.
take the lead on here.
Right. Scalpel.
That helps it.
Right. Tools aren't working. I'm going to have to go in.
Go harder, go close.
That's it. I'm going to grab the heart and I'm going to squeeze it lightly to try and bring them back. Here we go. Squeezy. 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 Oh, this feels disgusting, Owen. It's absolutely foul. Squeezy. Owen. 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 Stop.
Oh.
We've lost her.
Time again. 9:53.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!
You're brilliant.
If I get an update on Solaire?
She didn't make it. Damn it! I lost one. Damn it!
She died?
I lost one. Damn it!
Doctor, speak to me.
Ralph.
I think it's time for you to redeem yourself. Help this man.
Because he got taser
I don't know if I can do it.
You can do it. Get your confidence back, goddammit. You work in this hospital, don't you?
I'm going to be signing off from duty now, sir.
Okay, you've done an amazing job today, sort of.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, no, you 5 out of 10.
Hello. I didn't get my my key for my so I can remember what hotkey activates what music sting in time. So now we just have to awkwardly watch me flick through this book. How are we all? Hello, Frolicles. Hello, Hereford. Don't you worry about it, sheep. You enjoy. You get those chicken dinners. Do us proud, do us proud, sheep. There's a speech I did as maid as honor in this book. Is everyone having a nice? Has everyone had a good Saturday? Has anyone done anything exciting? Watched 2 rugby games and had a booster jab. So pretty classic Saturday, if you ask me. Classic Saturday. Where in Christ's name have I written this thing? It's definitely in this book. Definitely in this book. It's fun admin, isn't it? This is how you kick off a stream, everyone. A rare Saturday evening stream. I can't find it at all. I'm so confused. But yes, just a cool guy. That's me. That's me. Is it towards the front? I'm sure I wrote it in the back. Is this fun to watch? I need them though, otherwise it'll be a shambles, unlike my usual streams, which are smooth sailing all the way around. Yeah, disappointing result for Wales, but they played well. I mean, it's New Zealand, so it's always going to be a challenge. But it wasn't as bad as when we played New Zealand last year, which I was at in person. So, you know, improvement. Looks like things could be good for Argentina next week. We'll see. I've not watched Ireland and South Africa yet, so no spoilers, please. I'm watching that next week. Not next week. Next day. Tomorrow is some refer to it. I'm getting very confused here because I definitely wrote it in this book and I cannot find it. I'm getting very confused by this. I definitely wrote it in here. Yeah, I feel like I've gone through every page. Did I rip it out to have stuck up somewhere? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Protocols, has your game of American football finished? And did your precious Ohio, I'm just going to call them Jizz Hounds, have the Ohio Jizz Hounds won it? I'm absolutely confused. Well, I'm just going to have to chance it, aren't I? With my hotkeying. Well, let's see. State Buckeyes, I was close. Work needed in the scrum, defending in our own 22, but some good debuts and fresher caps. Exactamundo. That Rio guy, he's a guy. He's one to watch. Tennessee Volunteers. What a great name for a football team. We're the Volunteers. We're not getting paid for this. Right. Let's just do a little quick look through. Now you want to support the team called the Jizz Hounds. I mean, who doesn't? 4 is tense. 5 is sneaky. Yeah, Arkansas Jizz Hounds. Oh, I nearly said Arkansas then. Hoo-hoo-hoo. The Arkansas Jizz Hounds. So sneaky was, I've already forgotten. Was that 6? No, it was 5. 6 will be sinister. Ooh, someone's done something sinister. 7 sad. Boo-hoo. 8 is we need to come up with a solution quick. Let's brainstorm. Kind of thing you'd have in House when they're kind of trying to come up with an idea. And then dramatic emergency. We get the drums. How TF are Tennessee ranked number 1? They suck, says Mac Attack. Hello, Mac Attack. How are you? Have you had an enjoyable, as some call it, Saturday, I guess? Right. We've just been sat here idly for a while. As I've tried to remember stuff. We don't need this music on now. You can I've certainly muted myself there. But are those manually controlled drum parts? Nope. They were just me randomly hitting at the little keyboard I made it with and recorded it. It just randomly was like... and it's intentionally like a bit chaotic. Because it's supposed to be like a cheaper, you know... They go a bit overboard in these kinds of shows. When they have these kind of dramatic drum bits. Didn't do my suit better, naughty boy. So a lot has happened since that previously on that hasn't involved Douglas Happenstance here. So we saw Morgan at the front. Morgan's dead now. Was killed by her Frankenstein bride, of course, groom, of course, when it hugged her and just crushed her. Happenstance is still lost his mojo after that loss in the surgery. He's not got his groove back. Oh, good. Which is a shame. And that's something we're hopefully going to rectify tonight. I have an idea. But it all depends on things I don't know about. Something else I've discovered is there's a character who's been hired as our security guard called Michael, who Morgan initially stole a... Oop, not my taser. Who had his liver stolen, and he's waiting for a donor. And I'm waiting to perform that surgery on him, but we can't find a... Oh, saying I'm not connected. Get over there. Get over there. I'm also hoping for Happenstance and take heart. Hello, Captain Moobs! My voice broke a little bit. Captain Moobs, the MVP of Thursday morning stream with his tale of the Essex Man Boobs competition of the year 2007, which he left a wedding early for. Sensational stuff. I'm not going to tell you how Douglas will get his mojo back if it happens, because the thing I might want to do may have already happened whilst I've not been on over the last couple of days. So, it's difficult. We'll find something. And also I'm hoping to go for that long-promised ride. Went back to the wedding. Oh, you must have been received at that wedding like an absolute king, Captain Moobs, when you came back in your sash. The only thing that would make it better if it was your own wedding. But I doubt that's the case. But I've got my fingers crossed just in case. Right. Let's get connected. This is Douglas Happenstance signing in. Sliding into your radio frequencies. Right, have we got any... Who else is on at the moment? If anyone. Takeheart's in. Charlotte's in. I'm in. April's in. Sebastian's in. And if that is the case, where is everyone? Oh, here we go. Hello there.
Hey, Happenstance.
Hey, Dr. Happenstance.
Doctor.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, good, dude.
Yeah.
How's your bones, Jenny Leen?
They're good bones.
Yeah,
you've got experience of his bones.
Hey, careful, dude.
Excuse me.
A little bit of tact in the future would be amazing, dude. Thank you.
Sorry, if I put my foot in my mouth.
No, I mean, you might not have heard Charlotte and I are sort of together, and she kind of gets flustered by questions. Like that.
Congratulations, Adrenaline.
Yeah, so maybe just play it cool because she can be quite sort of shy and stuff, so doesn't like a big deal being made. But yes, my bones are fine. Thank you for asking.
They don't need you're not in need of a peeling.
Not at the moment, no. I think I'm mostly back and good to go. You know, just trying to do a little bit of stretching and get back to fighting fit.
You gotta stay limber.
That's it. Don't want to stiffen up too much.
Now, Adrenaline, would you now say that the biggest stunt of all is love?
That's fucking beautiful, dude. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to say.
By God.
Whoa.
Oh, Adrenaline, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, but wow, April, you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're gonna get
I'm
blood
getting
all over
dressed
your
up for the
dress when you do
party.
surgery.
Hands off adrenaline.
Take-Heart looking slick, dude. I'm loving the
Thank
jacket.
you.
What's
Thank you
happening
so much.
here?
Myself and April are attending a party tonight.
Oh, the party for
What?
Logan?
That's right.
Oh, I might see you there, dude.
Are you going to take Charlotte?
I think that's the plan. She's grabbing her glasses, and then I think we're gonna go, and she's gonna pick something nice to wear, and then we're gonna head up.
Wonderful. I'll look forward to seeing you all there.
Yeah, you too, dude. It's gonna be good. Gonna be a fun night.
Are you coming as well, Surgeon?
Surgeon? Fucking hell, this name's
Not know
Happenstance,
my
dude.
name.
Of course, Douglas.
Oh, hey, Charlotte.
It's just you're on duty.
I've not received any invitation to any
Yeah, of
party. Oh.
It was like an
It's
open
an
invitation on Twitter.
Open
Yeah.
invitation on Twitter, yes.
Oh.
See, we're the same wavelength, dude.
Yes, the same wavelength, dude.
Now, do you think I should go attend this party but remain on duty in case there's any
That's what I'm intending
party
to do, yes.
surgery that's needed?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that as well, just in case there's any mechanic surgery needed.
Of course, yes. Adrenaline, may I
Equally
have a
important.
word with you?
Yeah, of course, dude.
We got a party, everyone. I didn't actually quite hear what the party was. Yes, to look away in the that's happens a lot here. Let's get the old glad rags on there. My outfits. Let's go for this bad boy. Did they say fancy dress? Because they're not in fancy dress. Oh, I see your game. Oh, I can't barely perform surgery these days. I can barely get through a door. Let's have a look here. It's at the Weasel News building. Okay. It's not fancy dress. No hat? I don't think this requires a hat. Has everyone left already? Oh.
Alright, cool. I'll see you soon. See you soon, Doctor.
Right.
See you soon,
Take
Dr.
care.
Happenstance. I'll
The
watch you
pleasure
out
is
of you.
always adrenaline. What do you think, Dr. Takeheart? Do I scrub up well? Here, let me give you a little twirl. Wee.
Thank you. Ooh, ew. You realize we're going to a party, not a investigation.
How's it look? What about the fit of the jeans?
Dr. Happenstance. Put that away before you hurt somebody.
I'm a surgeon. I'll be able to fix any problem that may cause. Anyway, you're about solving a case here? What you talking about there?
I said we're going to a party. We're not being investigated. I'm not sure why you're dressed like an old-timey police officer.
An old-timey police officer? I can't even imagine such a person.
Show a bit of glam, Happenstance.
You think is this a black tie? You've got your top button undone like a gosh darn casual guy.
I'm a handsome rogue.
Oh, I can't deny that, sir. I'll never deny that. Never. You hear me? Never. But, am I not
Perhaps
looking
I
tripping?
You know what? Follow me.
I was gonna say, can we do a, you know in films where they take someone shopping and then they do the kind of thing and then you give me the thumbs up when I get the correct outfit?
Of course, we can do that right now. Get on the back of my hog.
Good lord, sir. What an honor. I hope you don't drive this as wildly as you drive your car.
No, you have to take extra care with this.
So what colors do you think will complement my eyes?
I think we should go for... with you, I think.
Your tailpipe bangs as much as mine.
Well, I am known for a banging tailpipe. Follow me.
I always seem to have trouble exiting your vehicles.
Sniffing the seat.
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing. So it should be around here somewhere. Can you find it? Ah, here it is. Stand right where I'm standing. Right there.
What should I
There you
go for?
Right. Start going through the jackets. I'll tell you when to stop. Oh, go back. Back.
To this?
One more. Do
I
they
look
have
like a
different
security
colors?
guard.
Do they have different colors?
I look like I should be in the Coast Guard.
No, you look handsome.
I don't know if I like the shoulder patches.
Well, fine. We'll continue. I'd like you to be comfortable.
For a moment, I thought you were saying the Santa jumper. Oh, I look like a hitman.
Keep going.
Ooh, this one could be risky.
That one's filthy. Put that back.
I can't believe they're selling this. Oh, what about this?
No, carry on.
Makes me feel a bit empty inside, this one.
Yes, I can understand that. Oh, stop right there. Stop right
You're
there.
going to suggest a turtleneck to me right now.
Go back.
Oop.
Back one.
This one?
Wait.
Let me
No,
put a shirt on
forward.
underneath too.
Wait, you're not listening to me.
You said back one and I went back one.
Go forward one.
Oh, not this one. I feel like a
Forward
goon.
one more.
A goon, I say.
One more.
One more forwards or backwards?
You went back. There, stop. That one.
Oh, I like this one. Now, should
Does
I
that
have
come in
a
different
t-shirt
colours?
or a button shirt?
You're not letting me finish. Does that come in different colors?
No.
Perfect. Choose the t-shirt you like the color of now, Doctor.
Ooh, only two options with this shirt.
Oh, go back.
Black
more.
shirt, I like it.
Back one more. I can. Oh, perfect.
I need the
Look at
thumbs up like in the film.
Perfect.
My God. Tie or no tie?
Of course, no tie. A tie is a corporate noose. I won't be having that.
I like the white one though.
That is pretty nice. You can keep that.
Good God. Any other changes?
I'd amend your shoes if you can. I'd go with a white to complement your additional tie.
How about these kind of spats?
You could wear the spats. I suppose it goes with your skin color. Yeah, that looks quite nice. I like that. All right, now we need some cool guy shades.
Yes. These cool guy shades.
They are, but you may have trouble seeing out of them.
I've got chest vision.
Oh. Wait, go back.
These ones.
Those actually suit you quite well.
Oh, thank you.
You have quite a,
Well, if you
you
say
have
so.
quite a thin head, and that makes it seem less rectangular. As somebody who knows a lot about rectangular heads, that's a good look.
I don't think I have a thin head, but I think it's pretty uniform, like a tube. Same length.
Yes.
From top to bottom, same width.
I understand. I think you look great.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
I'll pay for this, don't worry.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Oh, you can't see
This
my
is on
watch.
me.
You can't see my father's watch.
As long as you know it's there, he'll be with you.
I always wear it. I never take it off, even when doing surgery.
Well, that's good. We need to note the time of death, given your record.
Oh, you wound me. I hope something happens at this party which could be kind of restorative towards my mojo and make me get my reputation back. What are the odds of that happening, do you think?
Quite high, I hope. Do you know where the party is?
It's at Weasel News.
Do you know where that is?
I think I actually do, which is quite rare for me.
Oh, good. Could you mark it on the map for me?
If not there, it's definitely near there.
All right, thank you.
Whee! You got a name for this thing? Yeah.
It's called Tango. Because it takes two.
Watch out! Oh, that was close. Don't want to ruin my new friends.
I'm in complete control.
Ah, where that satellite dish is, that's it.
Perfect.
Look at that, I got it bang on.
You did.
The entrance is on the other side, though. So we
Oh,
might
I see.
park and walk around.
I'm sure they have front access parking. Oh.
No, they don't. This
Never
is what
mind.
I'm saying. Yeah,
You
moving on,
watch
lose it,
out,
chump.
buddy.
I got him.
There we go. I've never been here before. Lead the way.
Okay. I mean, I've never been here before, but I think I know someone who has, and he's told me about it in the past.
That's convenient.
Oh, I've got
I'm looking
arm
forward
holes.
to
I've got
this.
holes in my arms.
You should have checked that before we left the store. You've bought a defunct product.
We know sometimes you buy clothes that have holes in them already for some reason. Maybe it's like that.
Yes, it must be. It must be.
Trendy. What is this party for, anyway?
The first issue of the new newspaper has been released today. Have you not read it?
I've read it, yes.
It's
Great
to celebrate
read.
that. And to celebrate all the people in the city.
Did you read the Sayang Ye interview?
I did. It was very interesting.
Learned so much about him.
Excuse me.
Look at all these smart
It's
people.
good to walk straight through people sometimes as a sign of intimidation.
Yeah, you gotta let them
Wait.
know who's the alpha here.
It's locked.
If
Oh,
you press E,
I understand now.
it's great. I'm told this place has great views.
It echoes.
Hello.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Oh, there's a
Oh, wow.
microwave, so we're gonna have good catering.
There's so many people here.
Oh yeah, we're a bunch of processes.
Good evening, everyone.
Oh goodness.
Hello.
Oh, take heart. I still feel so bad for what I did to you.
No, I wouldn't mention it. It's quite all right. I'm over it now.
Oh, that's good. Well, my friend Ellie in the red dress has drinks if you wanted to take some.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll go speak with Ellie. Thank you.
And what was your name, darling?
Dr. Douglas Happenstance.
Oh, I didn't recognize you.
I mean, there is one person who looks a lot like me out there.
Yes.
But we don't
Well,
talk about
you
that.
look all smart and dapper.
Drinks for me.
Would you like a beer?
I think I might go get a drink.
I'll never turn down a piss water.
I'll be back.
You got piss water? You got piss water?
I got the right one.
Why have you been hiding that shit from me? Come on. Where's friends?
I must say, the amount of red in the room today is...
I had the weirdest scene I've ever had with Susie here. Susie!
Hi, sorry, I'm just in my head. I was thinking about something for 1 second.
No worries, I just wanted to check you weren't in any requirement of further treatment.
No, you applied plenty of pseudocreme to last me for the next year.
Sounds a bit dodgy there. I find the acoustics in this place aren't too great, but so I'll leave you to your thoughts.
Are you having issues hearing people?
Yeah, a little bit.
Me too. That's why I was in my head, because I was trying to figure out how to get my ears to work properly.
I think it's the acoustics of this particular room.
Too much wood.
Too much
wood. I thought I'd say
wood.
that because I love, I love wood.
What's your favorite kind? Maple, ash, with a smooth grain heading towards the top.
I
like an oak.
I want to say I love oak, but then I also just love like dark wood as well.
Yes, give me an oak desk with a leather-bound chair any day.
I know it's not in fashion really anymore, but give me a mahogany bar.
Oh yes, that's the stuff right there.
You're looking very smart.
Thank you. I got fashion advice from my good friend Malcolm Takehart.
Did you wipe your hands on your tie after you applied the pseudocreme? Is that why it's white?
Yes, it's a brand new tie. But I can
it a
tell
black
you
tie
that
when you
the
bought
clothes
it?
I was wearing during, well, let's just refer to it as that appointment. Good God.
Listen,
Lank
I put in a
with
good word.
creme.
I put in a good word with you for the to the mayor for you. So she did an excellent job.
How exactly did you phrase that, I wonder?
I didn't specify on the treatment because that'd be far too embarrassing for me. But I just said that Dr. Happenstance had been incredibly helpful and provided an efficient service.
He has a gentle hand.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Like metaphoric, like is a bedside manner, kind of as
You
a
got
doctor.
hands like shovels.
Well, that's what was required.
Right, I'll be you'll have my full attention in a couple of minutes, okay? I just need to really concentrate on my ears.
Oh, this map looks interesting.
Do you have anything classy?
Piss water, douche gold, Irish flag, scotch.
Can you
Iron
pick
brew.
one in the city?
Okay. Everybody step back a minute, Bull Stacy.
Couldn't ask for a more fancy.
Personal space.
You should be able
Am I right in thinking, Sebastian, this is your
Sorry,
brand new bride?
$7, darling, and my ID is 66.
I think it's
That
over there.
is the running narrative, yes.
Yes,
So
that's it.
he's
If you
kind
look
of
up there,
being
the building with the diamond.
married without planning to be.
That's where I am.
Mishappening?
If you ever need anything,
Well, you look like a great couple.
Office is open 24/7.
Hello there, Ellie. How are you?
Hello, darling. I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I'm gonna go mingle now, but it's
Can I get
been
you anything?
lovely to meet you.
Oh, did I hear you say you have scotch?
I do.
I'll step out the way.
I'd love scotch. How much is that going to cost you? Me? Oh, it's free. Or you
Not bad.
scotch first, money after.
Normally, yeah. Are you a part of the medical team?
I am, yes.
Then yours is free because
I treated you.
All medical team has been paid for, so you're okay.
Oh, amazing. Was that Miss Dr. Takehart's footing the bill?
Yes. Yes.
What a guy.
Yeah, so you guys are absolutely
I
fine.
noticed you have a new bruise on your eye.
I treated you the other day, you don't remember? One of my patients seemed to remember me.
No, mine's just been a very busy rushing off my feet trying to get enough alcohol for tonight problem.
Take you for a lesson sometime.
I was very stressed trying to make sure I've got enough for tonight.
I see. Well, you're doing a great job so far.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's-
Everybody looks amazing.
Everyone's scrubbed up real well, Sebastian. You're looking, well, god dang. No wonder you managed to
Let me just check I haven't deleted it once.
get married so quickly and easily.
We are not married!
Well, I think the legal documents say otherwise, don't they?
Well,
There was nothing signed.
Owl insisted that things were signed.
I was lying!
But why?
Because he's a little shit that likes to tease me.
it's a party, you know. I thought I could get away with it.
What's the city's Discord server?
It's quite rude to.
I don't have it on me
stand
right
the
now.
furniture as
It's
well.
called Quiet City.
Cheers.
If you go on Twitter, search Quiet City RP,
I understand.
you should find it there.
Hello, I don't believe we've met.
Come join
Man has
us.
given me so
And
much
pleasure to
stress
meet you,
with
Sean.
bloody- Oh my god, they're married thing.
My
I think
name's
Takeoff
shit.
Dr. Malcolm Takeoff.
made a pass at so far 2 or 3 women this evening already.
He's what? What are you talking about?
One of them isn't me though, so that's fine.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that, Sebastian. You don't want to take out trying to steal your wife here.
He did it last night. He turned around and went, "If it doesn't work out, you have my number, Ellie." I was like, "Fucking hell!"
Yeah, there's no music.
And Go-Go caught the bouquet
Oh, sorry.
I had to apply some pseudocreme to Susie. That's what that was all about.
Office is always open if you ever need
It's a great view from this building, eh?
It's beautiful, absolutely stunning.
Stacy?
So,
That's a very
kind of want to see if we can get someone to drive some big ridiculous car up and down that road. Just see if we
Was
can
it Ralph? I didn't even recognise Ralph with that hat and glasses on.
Can help anybody.
It's quite different.
Banana bread.
Take care of yourself, Stacy.
It's
Hello, sir. I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you before.
Here's Jim Appel Bobby, and you are?
Name's Dr. Douglas Happenstance.
That's good, huh?
What do you do, sir?
I run a recording label and sometimes do cabbing, sometimes do journalism, sometimes do whatever.
A man of all trades.
Not all trades. I don't do police, I don't do the EMS, and I don't do mechanics, and I don't do rat
Yet.
catching, and I don't do lots of different things, huh?
Yet, though, you may one day.
No, I don't think I'll ever do the EMS. I don't think that is for me.
It's a difficult job, I must say. You sometimes have people die in your hands.
Yeah, well, I can do that, obviously, but...
I have to say, you have the most beautiful woman voice I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. What's your name?
You could sing, I'm sure.
Sing?
Oh yes. The name's Sam Morgan.
Pleasure to meet you, Sam Morgan. What line of work are you in, Sam Morgan?
Well, you know, I've kind of retired from my own line of work, and I'm just sort of a freelance at the moment.
Where's the server
Used to
base?
be a forensic investigator.
Mostly from the UK. A lot of Scottish people.
But not in a city of this size, for sure.
I see. What are your hopes and aspirations? EU.
Well, you know, I'm gonna see the set. So, you know, it's been one day in the city, and I'm already up here in the highest building in the entire place.
It's a beautiful view.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Our beloved quiet city.
But then I saw this.
This map's pretty cool. Looks like someone's making
tiny
plans
version.
here.
It's a tiny version of the whole entire city.
Have you ever been up here in the mountains?
No.
They're beautiful, but you gotta watch out for them cougars.
They have
Whoa,
cookers.
this guy on the table here. Whoa, this party's already kicking off. Oh, you're impersonating a cougar. I see what's happening. Watch out, I might have to tase you.
I'm Ralph Siller.
Oh, it's you, Ralph. I didn't recognize you then.
I've taken over the city.
You wish. Imagine you trying to get in command of this city.
Why did you say that?
Hang on, are we the shit?
Well, I'm dressed appropriately.
Why is that funny?
Just imagine you in a position of power, sitting behind a desk.
Yeah, do that.
It's a funny old image for me.
Bobby.
Though I must say, your calves are exceptional.
I got that red head.
Look at those bad boys.
I don't know any cows, sir. Especially no baby ones.
Yeah, I might have to go soon because it's quite difficult.
By God. And this is what I'm talking about.
I'm just gonna try and speak to them.
I said his hair wasn't as nice a red though as someone else's. I know.
Yeah, it seems to happen when I put heels on. I
No.
just get very
Oh yeah.
cold or something.
Because yours is lovely.
Yeah, all the information's there.
So is yours.
You'll need a
I'd just like
vouch,
to
I
pop
think.
your beard.
So if you're kind of like someone who goes around lots of things, it's helpful to have
Is that nice?
someone in the community that knows you.
Oh hi. Sorry, you had to listen to that. That was a bit gross, wasn't it? Sorry, we're just getting a bit soppy.
Sorry, I didn't actually quite hear it anyway, so you're okay.
Oh, okay, good, good.
The acoustics in this room are a little strange.
Would you like to go for a quick ride later on?
Yeah, it's been good. How are you anyway? I don't think we've met before.
No, the name's Dr. Douglas Happenstance. How about you?
I'm Stella. Stella Time.
Pleasant to meet you, Stella. What's your line of work?
We run a recording studio.
By God. Someone was just saying I should take up singing.
Oh yeah, let's hear some. Bobby over here is the pro at it all, but...
Oh yes.
I guess you, I just need to find the genre that's correct for my voice.
Drill, I think, would suit.
Yes.
I don't know any drill songs to sing. To be honest, I don't even know what drill is. Apart from the drill I use in surgery.
What is that, man?
Yes, it's quite nice.
That's more dubstep, to be honest.
I thought dubstep was more like a wibbly wibbly wob wob wob.
Oh, no, it's also you have to have the ooh as well as the wob wob wob. It is the contrast, huh?
It's fruit flies. So, what could you give me an example of what this drill is?
No, because I am not from the urban environment, and I would not want to step on their toes, you know.
Oh, but you were willing to let me do it.
I thought you would too. Yeah, I thought you might be up for it, but you know, obviously, it is not a genre for you. Maybe.
What about opera? You sound like you got a good opera
That's
voice.
what I was thinking. I need something kind of booming. Susie, you do not look happy.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we're going to do a toast for Logan, just to celebrate their first publication.
Oh, yes.
I thought your interview was very good, Susie. Yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean I came out quite well, didn't I? To be fair, I was quite surprised.
And you've scrubbed up very nicely in your brown
Mr.
dress.
Trombone.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, thank
Not
you.
this time of night.
Bobby, could you do the toast? You're better at these things than I
No,
would be.
because
Man
me
of
and Logan
many words.
have not really spoken too much.
Okay, let me see if I get to one. Right, one sec. Okay, hopefully everyone's got their drinks.
Oh, no worries. A lot of people have said how lovely you look.
Oh, I don't know.
Here you go, April.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Oh, it seems to have turned into wine in my hand, but that's fine.
That's absolutely fine.
Ting, 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 ting.
I don't want to call myself the Messiah, but if I could turn champagne to wine, then what other explanation could that be?
Just wanted to raise a toast to Logan for writing a wonderful first publication of the Quiet City Times.
Yeah, Logan.
I think I came out great in that, so thanks so much, Logan. It's going to be a great help for Crumple Force. If anyone does want to hire our services, if you use the coupon code Logan, you get 10% off for the first month. Cheers to Logan.
Hooray
To
for
Logan,
Logan.
yeah.
Cheers.
Bravo for the Logan.
Thank you.
Hip hip
Thank you,
and a
everybody.
hooray. Hip
It
hip
was a very good
Speech.
issue.
hooray.
Speech. Speech.
All right.
Speak.
Yes.
Speak.
You go on front and centre.
All right. Well, I'd just like to say thank you for being such a lovely group of people here. It's been an honor talking to so many of you, and I hope to really get to know so many more. And I'm so glad that y'all turned up here tonight. This is more of a celebration of y'all. And please come to me if you want to get an interview or if you want to help me out at my newsletter. 'cause it does
Sean,
take
thank you
a
very
lot
much for
to
the follow.
put
That's very
into
kind
it.
of you.
And
Thank you very
cheers
much.
to you.
Hooray, cheers
Cheers. Woohoo!
Cheers.
Cheers to me.
Here, here.
I'd like the fact it's a PDF, which is pretty damn fine, huh? Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.
All right, party. Let's get the shots out.
Shots, 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 shots.
Everybody.
Let's get rat-assed.
Oh yeah. I'm off the clock.
How's your head doing, sir?
It's
Logan, if I may, if there was one thing I would say that you could improve
have you found your
in the
memories have been
in the
returning?
publication,
Yes.
maybe add in like a
yeah,
Sudoku puzzle or
after the
something.
rest
I quite enjoy those.
Oh my God, that's such a great idea.
I prefer
No, you
word
want
searches
a
myself.
you want a
came back,
sundial.
a bit more.
You know,
I'm so glad.
you have all the letters around the circle, a big letter in the middle, and it makes one
Thank
word.
you
You've got to work out what the big
for
one
Oh, like a
is.
Wordle?
I don't think I would.
Yeah, anything like that, I love.
Oh, that's
You know,
such a great
that really
idea.
means a lot
Well,
to me right now. I've had a
And
difficult
maybe
week with
something
my
about star signs as well. I'd quite enjoy
confidence, so
that.
that really helps.
oh my God, that is. Well, do you want to do that?
Is it a
I
hard?
think Charlotte with the
job?
psychic uterus might be good at that.
One of the hardest in the world. I'm a surgeon, mostly by trade.
Oh, sorry. Move, can we move over here,
is
and
it-
I'll
is
hear
it
you a little
in
bit
that
better.
bad?
Well, I've
Hi.
Oh, are you okay there?
I just had
You're
a
doing better.
fantastic
there's some
idea.
difficult things that you have to deal with
Look around.
sometimes.
It's a beautiful office.
Such as?
Oh, sorry, we can go.
People dying in your hands.
Best looking around here, I reckon.
I'm sorry.
That first date.
It's okay.
Forget to drink
I'm
it.
alright,
It was-
thank you.
It was quite bizarre. I did it myself.
It's just hard to take away the
Lots of red.
feeling of being responsible for such a thing, even when they are a known mass murderer.
The whole fashion was a lot of people quite busy. I'm now a
Oh,
doctor.
You always fit in
do
anything.
we have a lot of those in the city?
More than you would expect.
I told you, Ellie, if things don't work out between you and Seb here, you know, you have my
There's
number.
No mass
Ha, ha, ha.
murderers in here, is there?
Just a
It's
joke.
not you, alright? You get in the queue.
Just a joke, of course, of course.
Now, apologies if you get covered in champagne right now. Oh no, it just went away. Okay. I thought I was going to throw it over my head, but it didn't happen.
I'm so glad you didn't.
Oh dear.
I love your jacket.
Thank you. I thought
I like your helmet.
add some
friend.
colour.
It is a great helmet, isn't it?
We're going to be going out for a
Are you
night later.
Is my
planning on?
What are those things
Oh.
on our first?
Oh,
in the car.
I understand.
Oh no.
Very funny, sir.
I got worried
Had to
then.
freshen up.
Not sure what was
Do you
happening.
think you need to get a washing car?
I've just made
They said they could see my helmet, so I decided.
Oh, I looked right at the sun through a telescope. That.
Oh, some sort of
Actually.
innuendo.
Shit's not good for you, idiot.
Yes.
Must happen to you all the time, though, when you've got such a great helmet. You can have people come and compliment your helmet all the time. That must lead to some awkward situations.
How have you been doing? You know, since
I think that's the first compliment someone's given me. So.
That can't be true.
You got a good
With a helmet like that?
By the till, you know when you walk through the two.
It is true. I think maybe the jacket
Sometimes they have
takes
very
the
random
focus.
DVDs there as well. I've never
Well,
understood
it's
how they
all
select
it all works together. It's the ensemble.
Yes, it's always movies
Yes.
from around the late
So,
2010s.
what do you do when you're not in the hospital?
Always the best though, the classic.
It's very rare that I'm not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
What business do you find yourself in?
Are you married to your job?
It feels like it, yes. But it feels like at the moment that marriage is on the rocks.
Oh gosh.
People come around.
Do you have many of your colleagues here?
Yes, we've got Dr. Malcolm Tighart. He's the person who just came over and made comments about your helmet. And we've also got April, one of our newest doctors. And then we got,
yes, I remember April.
Then we got Sebastian over here, one of our finest paramedics.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
I think that is the case. It's very
And then we have one of our nurses over here.
Bear with me 1 second, I've just heard the most lovely song.
Whose name I'm blanking on right now. Charlotte, I knew that. She's got herself a new bow and adrenaline.
Very nice. A bow? What?
A significant other. A honey bunch.
Oh.
A sweetie pie.
I'll be right back. I'm having a slight issue with my eyes, and I'm not really sure what's going on, but I'll be back. It was lovely to speak to you.
This place is a maze.
It's really big, isn't it?
I'm just gonna get a drink.
Oh, Herman, are you okay, darling?
Hi.
Would you like anything, sweetheart?
Climbing on the furniture, Susie? Good God.
I'm sorry. I've had a few too many champagnes. The bubbles have gone to my head.
By God.
Just a quick question.
Do you want it alcoholic?
Just a quick answer. Will you require a quick answer?
Very quick answer, yes. Who is that person standing in front of Ralph? And next to Tighart with the black hair.
Now, his name, he told me it, and I'm just trying to remember it. I remember the surname because it reminds me of a lost friend.
What's the surname?
Morgan.
Fine, darling.
Oh. I don't think I've ever met anyone with the surname Morgan. Are they new to the city?
He said he was in a particular line of work and now he's freelancing, but I can't quite remember what that line of work was. But I think he's newish.
Ah, okay.
I can't remember. I've blanked on that. He could be a potential member of Crumple Force if he's freelancing.
Sam Morgan. On Twitter.
Sam, that's it.
Just arrived in the city in such an amazing party. There we go.
But it reminded me of a dearly departed friend.
Yeah, we saw one earlier.
Are you missing them?
I do. They made the most delicious sandwiches.
So I've heard. Who's this?
Who's who? Ooh, is that you, Officer Oars?
Nope.
Oh, I've not met you, sorry.
My name's Colton.
Kennedy, Hawkins.
Pleasure to meet you, Colton. Name's Douglas Happenstance. It's Smooth Criminal.
Hello, darling.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just thought I'd come up here and see what this is all about.
Would you like a drink?
Yeah, why not?
Do you want it alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
Oh, well, I'll take alcoholic.
Oh, yes,
So
I
have
was just
piss waters,
a little quiet time
Irish
over there.
flags, or scotch.
I understand.
How are you enjoying the party?
It's fun, yeah. I'm meeting a lot of very interesting new people. It's nice.
I'm sure you've
I
got
give
a
that to
few
Logan instead.
numbers from new friends.
What's your line of work there, Colton?
Can you pass it along for me?
Now and again.
Yes, I imagine it's very important in your
What
very
did you think
important
of
role.
the article?
I just got blanked.
Oh, yeah, the article was good. I liked it.
Oh, of course. Very professional.
It was a lovely party, but I've got to go now.
Behind you there.
Remember to
I had
give
her
me a ring
security
when you
firm.
want to have that interview?
Oh yes, I've seen Susie and her boys.
That's Barrels. That's who I thought he was in the first place.
A good asset to the company.
See, this is
Yeah, they seem to do a lot of, standing outside, but I imagine they do a good job.
Has Sweet Michael received his liver yet?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's such a generous thing to do. It would be silly not to.
Have you done it?
Wikipedia appeared.
No, we're waiting for a donor, but we're not seem to be having much luck. But I don't know if any has arrived in the last couple of days or not.
I know Bert was going through tests.
But then he got struck down by a motorcycle.
Oh gosh.
Who was struck down?
Bert.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yes, so his liver was rendered unusable.
Is that right?
That's correct.
When did this happen?
I had no idea.
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know if I have your phone number. If I could.
My phone number?
You're probably the only person who doesn't.
I'm just trying to get everyone's phone number, so if I have an emergency interview to do.
Here, please take my number.
How did you get down here, Doctor?
I got a ride on the back of GTARP's bike. How did you get here, April?
There we go. There is mine.
I drove by myself. I like driving by myself.
I'm sure you do. Oh dear.
Oh, Doctor.
That's me.
I don't. Someone help me.
Doctor, what happened?
I need to eat. I'm hungry. I was squinting, so I couldn't see how badly I was doing.
It's okay.
Cinema mode.
He's forgotten to eat the silly goose.
Such a silly
gonna
goose.
Have to help him up.
Do it with your mouth. Medic down. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. GTARP.
Mr. Happenstance.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Doctor, do you need some?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good
You're welcome.
God.
Will anybody help me
My God.
button my shirt back up? I just got a little bit of blood on my hands from Dr. Happenstance here.
Oh, I can help with that.
Thank you.
There you
Thank
go.
you very much. Thank you. I'm just gonna go wash myself in the bathroom. Bear with me 1 second.
I was.
Are you okay, Doctor?
I see. Is I've been squinting. I guess it's these sunglasses. I've been squinting, so I couldn't see how I couldn't tell how hungry I was.
Do you need some food?
You look very cool, though.
I've just eaten. I'm okay. Thank you very much, though.
Okay, well, let me know if you have any period cravings.
Oh. Carlton. I didn't quite catch what your line of work was earlier, sir.
I work as a garbage man.
Garbage man, keeping our streets clean.
Yeah, that's right.
Some of the biggest heroes are the ones we don't even notice.
Why is someone here in a mask?
Who's in a mask?
That at the window.
Oh, goodness me.
A scary
That's very
mask.
ominous looking with a hoodie up as well.
Coming to stand with you guys if that's okay.
Nothing more ominous than someone with their hood up.
Oh, that is a very terrifying mask.
Charlotte, could I grab your number, please, just in case I need to give you a ring?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Colton's just slipped something in my pocket.
You have mine, don't you?
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't think that person looks very fancy. I thought this was a fancy party.
That's what I thought too.
See, I was lucky when I thought about it. I heard fancy dress, so I thought we were going to be dressed up. And then I thought, no, it probably just means dressing up smart and fancy.
Yes, well, they're breaking the dress code, definitely.
What are we looking at here?
There's a man with a
there's-
mask on over there.
Over there.
Yeah, no, like,
It's supposed to be
what are we looking at?
fancy, you know, just look,
Who is
look
it?
smart and everything.
I don't know. Oh, we're having a group photo.
You already
Cheese.
Yeah, everybody get in.
We're going to do a silly one.
Basically hit his big toe on the bed.
Very nice.
Well, that wouldn't really be like work.
Oh my God.
Didn't have enough time to twerk.
Right, Logan, I am going to have to make a move if that's okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Charlotte, Adrenaline, are you both having fun?
It was nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see
Yeah.
everyone all done
Yeah,
up
thank
and
you,
looking
thank
fancy and
you.
stuff, you know?
It's a really cool building.
Lovely
It's great to go
views.
to the hospital as well.
Have you
I'm
guys
about
all
to
seen
say
the map?
Of course.
change of event.
Oh no, is there a map?
Yeah,
you
it's
wanna-
really cool.
you
Really.
wanna lead the way for us?
Didn't have enough time to twerk. It's a real shame, isn't it?
Ooh, map.
Building down there that says Tinkle.
Lovely office you have here, Logan.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully, when I get more people in, it won't just be little old me here.
We're really curious about this map on the table you have over here. What do you use that for?
That was from the past owners, but it's good for reference of the distance.
The person with the mask is accusing me of getting out my tinkle. I'd just like to say I never did that.
Oh.
Okay, that's fine. I think maybe it's best if they left.
Why would they make such an accusation? Please describe it to me.
Because I said I would help
Take out your
them
tinkle?
help them with their exposure.
By
they
God.
are currently unemployed, and they said, you're going to
Colton's
expose
criminal,
yourself,
that's right.
get your tinkle out? God.
Tell you what, happens all the time in this gosh darn place. People misunderstanding words, and almost sometimes it seems intentional.
I understand. Oh, it looks like everybody's eating, guy.
Oh, I should have done that a while ago. Oh, sorry there, Colton.
It's alright.
You seen this map, Dr. Takehart?
I've seen it, yes. What is it, what are they pinpointing here?
I don't rightly know. I think we need to ask someone who works
I
here.
asked Logan, they said it's just from the previous owners.
Oh, I see.
Is there anywhere on here where you haven't traversed? Adrenaline.
I mean, I don't think I've covered every street in the city yet, but I've certainly seen most of them.
Can you point to where the highest you've been is on here?
Top of Chiliad. I drove my bike off of Chiliad and parachuted down.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
That was pretty
Take me
cool.
on one of these stunts one day.
Yes, darling, what would you like?
Next time I'm doing one, I'll post on Twitter so everybody can watch it.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll need some knowing you'll need some medical assistance just in case.
Well, it was actually Ralph hurt himself, and then I parachuted down, and that was actually kind of when I first met Charlotte, wasn't it, Char?
Yeah.
Well, we've discussed what your new biggest stunt is.
That's right, yeah. And then you've got the airport down at the bottom here, and there's the pier on the beach.
Sort of, just for bliss. Cool
The
gangsters,
golf
I
course, it's cool, it's really
guess. Oh no,
detailed.
we're here, you know.
Lucy and Mickey are on the way to the with David.
Take heart, you okay?
Is that still
You're looking a little worse for wear.
Well,
you're okay.
that is what I said to them.
Don't worry about it.
Wobbly on your feet there.
To check.
Find a new spot. Hey,
Careful
nice
there.
to meet you.
Just in case they do that.
Do you
Yeah.
have my phone number here?
Yeah, I believe I do have
There
your
you
phone
go.
Oh,
number.
look, it's good, Colton.
Oh,
I still don't have his phone
Kaiju
number.
Colton.
Stepped on the hospital.
Coltonzilla.
Take heart's looking a little worse for wear, April.
I saw him doing a lot of those shots earlier.
Can you please get off my desk?
Do you want a beer, Bobby? Colton, do you want a beer?
And given everything that's happened, I'm surprisingly hungry, huh? There is something strange about the level of appetite in this city at the moment, huh?
I'm always bloody hungry.
Does anybody have a sandwich I could have?
Yeah, I can give you one.
Thank
Was it you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, 5 of them. Quite a
Thank
few
you
on
very
me.
much. I'm new in town. I don't really have anything to eat.
He is new in town. I can't.
It's alright, you want a drink?
Yeah, I had that piss was
Good God, look at the state of him.
Garages are a good place to get your food, though.
Yeah, he's he looks a bit of a mess. I'm having such a lovely date.
Well, the
You
other
can
thing
get,
you
you get
could
one
do.
finance, yeah.
You having a what now?
Oh, I was supposed to be take carts plus one. But he didn't drive me here, and then he seems very drunk now. But it was just as professional friends, you know.
Yes, I'm sure. I had a great time riding on his bike. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that must have been lovely.
Wait, so you got a lift?
Best damn ride of my life.
But you didn't get a lift.
Oh, no, I did not.
Though I don't know how we're gonna get him back. Though I can't ride his bike in this state.
I have my car. I could drive you back in my car.
I'm just trying to deal with.
You've got 4 seats.
Yes, it has 4 seats.
All right.
Do you think maybe we should take him back to the hospital and
Let's see what he says. Take heart. Take heart. I think you've had too much.
I think you've had not enough.
And
I've been told on the
we can talk about that later, but
carrying him
we think we should take you to the hospital and maybe give you an IV and sober you up.
Can I have a couple more of those Irish flags, Ellie?
Oh, Irish flags are dangerous.
Wow. Was that the wisest idea?
Yeah, I don't know. Look at the state of him, Ellie.
You lot are doctors though, so you can save him afterwards. So.
The more I drink, the more single
That's
you look.
not really the point.
Yeah,
oh, dear God.
Not.
You know what? Can I have those drinks back?
What do you think? We just carry him?
Yeah.
I don't know where they've gone. I seem to have misplaced them.
For fuck's sake.
A bottle of rum and leave him to it.
You guys are doctors. You can sort him out later.
He's moving around too much.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Again, that's not the point.
Gravity? Oh no, I was touching this painting here.
You're touching the painting.
It's one of the most. Yeah, it's the most beautiful painting I've ever seen.
You're the most beautiful painting I've ever seen.
Oh, you had too much to drink?
He's at. Oh, he's out. Oh, hey, careful there.
Oh yeah.
He wriggled out. I didn't know people could do that.
Wow.
Your
That was the loveliest. Oh yes, my date seems very drunk.
Trying to carry him, but he wriggled out of it somehow.
Yes, doctor.
He's a wriggler.
Hey, April.
Yes.
Hey.
This is
I think it's time I asked you out on a date.
Yeah, I thought this was a date, but yeah.
April, I'm not ready to get married, but you wanna get out of here?
Macaroni Prince, hello!
Yeah, I think we should
Thank you very much for the raid. Hello, raiders.
Go to the hospital
hello.
maybe and see if we can get some coffee.
We're in Quiet City. We're doing some RP.
No. I know where I want to go.
I was just going to say, speaking of, actually...
Hey, you. Hey, you some kind of wise guy or something?
Oh, I think there's about... How are you doing, Macaroni Prince? What were you up to?
You want to push off, buddy?
What was on the menu today?
Right, Malcolm. Up next to me, pal.
You want to... Hey.
Sorry, I can only give a shout out by muting it for a moment. Hello. If you're not following Macaroni Prince, you have to.
Gloves?
If for anything, I mean, excellent streamer all around. But Darman Monday.
Can I try on your gloves?
Malcolm, dude, you gotta bring it down a notch.
Excellent stuff.
Oh,
And
everyone's
some Fortnite.
trying to bring me down.
What else have
No
you been
one's
doing
trying to
recently?
bring
I'm
you
trying to
down.
think.
You just gotta there's other people here. You can't be like.
But
screaming
always
and
good
shouting,
time. And yes, my favorite intro to anyone's stream.
Gloves.
You
got a problem with that?
Tell you what,
no, not at all.
Adrenaline.
I just think that there's lots of people here that are trying to have a nice evening and.
Just gonna kind of
get
somewhere quiet for a moment.
No, that's not very
At work recently, one of my parts of my job is running a youth club, and there's one boy who now sits and he puts Starman videos on. So I get it. Even in my employment, I don't think was it more shocking than the foster mum one, because that was pretty intense. If you don't know what a Dar Man video is, it's hard to explain it.
Well, if you have yourself a couple more, you might well get like that fella there.
You can't escape Dar. You can't escape him.
Hey, Stella.
I saw one recently where
Hey, Stella.
Which the boy was watching.
Darling.
Oh, thank you. He's speaking to Stella.
I'm gonna grab a drink.
In my
One best friend of babies, it wasn't hers.
You should be the ones taking her.
Charlotte, what would you like, sweetheart?
Can I do pistol hunters?
How many,
I
darling?
think you kind of just leave him to walk home.
I'm feeling that way, but I'm a professional doctor. I need to look after him.
I watched one. There seems to be a series of them that the boy is watching that he was in. Like Darman was a character within them. Like they were going to a Darman conference.
Why is
They were going to the shop to buy Darman merch, and he was there, and it was great. Oh my word!
As well.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
Charlie's in.
Although I'm not on duty anymore, I was earlier.
Yeah, give me one.
Yeah. Surely, if you're on duty, you shouldn't be drinking.
Oh, okay, I get you.
No, you would
You'd
think.
go to that
but,
conference. Imagine the kind of
the
people
doctors
that
work
would
really
go,
hard, and sometimes they've
like
got to cut them.
legitimately. I'd be very curious about like what that clientele is.
Hey, Billy.
Hey there,
Hi,
hey,
Charlotte. What's up?
take heart.
Can I also get an Irish flag?
I think we need to head back to the hospital. In fact,
I'll head you back on the hospital.
hey, take heart. You ever been to the pier?
Oh, thank you.
No.
There you go, sweetheart.
I've always thought I'd like to take you to the pier.
Oh no, I'm alright, dude. Thank you.
That's kind of you.
Not the one the bike went off, please.
Yeah, no,
Can
not
I-
the bike.
Can I
All right,
get a few
thank
more
you.
of those
Thank you,
Irish
Macaroni
flags?
Prince, thank you so much for the raid.
He sobered up.
Hard to
Yeah,
kind of
that's
fit
cool.
everyone in what's
I can
going on
walk
at the
in a
moment.
straight line. Watch this.
But it's RP and there's just
at
crazy
this.
stuff happening.
Completely sober.
Whoa, what's going on over here there?
Here and I do not want to be arrested, so.
What are you doing? Does anyone require medical assistance?
Oh, I've just taken
No,
the
I'm
journal
okay,
and things,
thanks,
and I
Doc.
see, you know, so many amazing things here.
Oh, well.
I just saw someone swing for
I
you.
run the paper, and if you wanted to help me out a little bit, that would be so great. If you wanted to use your talents to.
Oh, I'm not much of a
assist me.
rival.
That was
really. It's mostly
cool.
just,
Cohen.
That was bloody cool, Colton.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Sliding along the sofa like that? I want to try it.
It's lovely to see love.
Every one of them Irish flags.
Oh,
It's psychic uterus.
I see ya. You got a psychic?
oh, I can't do it.
No.
I don't really know how I did it in the first place, to be honest.
God damn.
Stella, come here.
The best
What would you
fucking
like, darling?
nurse in the city, dude.
I could have to get like
That is
3
good,
pistols.
especially now April's not a doctor. So
Is it
That's
like-
the best
Yes, it
goddamn
is.
doctor this city's ever
One of
seen.
them.
Coffee sober him
He
up,
keeps
we'll just
saying
make
no,
him
but I know he
hyperactive.
wants one really.
Part of me just wants to tease him. Oh, hello there.
No, actually, I've had enough money now for it to be
Just
an open
tease him
bar,
and
so.
cat him away.
Yep.
I think if we tase him, he'll go off like that girl from The Exorcist.
Malcolm Take Heart gave
It's
me
spinning,
enough for all
pea
medical
soup in.
staff to be open bar, but then Sebastian gave me
Because
more
I tried to
make
pick
an
him up
open
and carry him, but he wriggled out of it.
Oh, bless him.
bar. So I'm okay now.
Sebastian is the real hero here.
Yes. Can I have a couple?
Do what now?
Your wife's talking great things about you.
32,
Yeah.
how many would you like?
Just like 5.
Okay.
lumped out as the organization at the moment.
Good God, April.
You darling.
What have you been doing?
Doctor, this is a lovely party, and I'm having a lovely time, and I'm so glad that Take Heart gave you a ride.
I mean, I'm very glad too, but how? I'm not sure how we're gonna get both him and you back now, because neither of you are in a fit state to drive.
Well, I'm fine. I just had a couple of the shots, but they seem very strong.
They seem very powerful. It doesn't seem to take much to
Yes, it doesn't-
absolutely
it doesn't-
destroy someone's life.
It doesn't seem to take much. I only had a couple, and then woo.
Which is saying something.
Dear
like,
Lord,
a
eh.
solid hour
I don't
without
have a
really
car,
kicking.
but I can always drive you back if you let me drive you car.
Yeah.
I
Might
could
have to
give
do
you my
that.
keys, doctor.
That's to say, if I can get you both in and I can drive them back, but cool, it's gonna be difficult to rein them in.
My car at the moment.
If I have a coffee, I'm sure I'll feel fine.
That's a good idea.
Oh, I've got some water. Maybe if I just drink some water.
Have some water, and I might have a couple of doses of Samantha Mumber on me, which might help.
Oh, that would I'd love a bit of Samantha Mumber.
Oh, he's naked.
This would be a great place to parachute
Good Lord.
from.
Lots of people are really feeling. What is in these shots? Good lord, what is in these shots is having an incredible effect on everyone.
I know the Irish flag is Irish cream and orange, and that's it.
There's got to be more to it than this, because
Oh.
look at the absolute carnage that's taking place here.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Blood
Sebastian, your
transfusion.
face looks funny.
Thank you.
You got a good chin. Oh,
I do.
Lordy Lord. Would you like anything, darling?
I think it's for the best that I don't.
I do have non-alcoholic drinks on me
I'm
and
the
food.
designated driver. Remember that advert?
I have Iron Brew coffee and cola on me, cranberry juice and crisps and chocolate if you don't want alcoholic.
Oh, I'm all good for those things at the moment. I
darling.
bought my own supply in a carry bag, put it in the fridge.
Does anybody want to okay, sweetheart.
Hopefully no one's touched it. I wrote on it, said Happenstance's stash. Hopefully no one...
Ellie, could I grab some drinks? I feel a little left out.
Oh, I don't know if you want to do that, Logan.
What's your thing, Lisa?
One of the problems has solved itself.
All right. Are we getting these guys in the car? Oh, God, he's taking his top off. April, you ready?
We going to the afters?
We got... Yes, that's right. Just let me get into your car and...
Where are we going?
Oh, here's a good question. Are you able to use the door when you're lifting him?
Should be able to. Oh, thanks, Cole.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Where's the bloody Elliot?
Oh, wrong guy.
I was dropped on my damn head.
Where are we going?
Might I say you've got the most beautiful physique I've ever seen.
There we go.
Thank you.
Let's get out. Like,
Good job.
Almost held you like a little
Built
baby then, sir.
Differently, isn't it? It's a good job I'm built differently.
Yeah. What makes you built
Natural
so different?
athlete.
You know, this and that.
Yeah, this and that. It would be cool if someone else could ever. Which one's the fucking exit?
It's this one. That could be a problem. This seems to be an issue.
Oh, you've dropped the doctor.
Yes, but
dearie me.
it feels like he's still there. Yeah, he's gonna have to come through these doors himself. We can't carry him through.
Oh. He's gonna have to try and get through the door himself. We can't carry him through.
Good lord.
Are you feeling okay, Paul?
Oh, I'm fantastic, adrenaline, and I'm so happy for you.
Charlotte.
You're gonna have to come through the door yourself. We can't carry you through, sir.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty injured. I can't.
Good lord, that's some position you're in. You look like half a McDonald's
yeah,
logo.
If you just go on ahead, give us a moment. I'll figure it out. I'll get him out.
He's gonna have to stand up and exit himself.
Take her.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody.
April, where's your car?
Oh, my car.
Where are we all going?
We're going to sober some people up in the hospital is where we're going.
Oh, okay.
Sweet sir, please do move.
Oh, I thought he was burping. He just had a very deep voice.
Very deep. You know who's got a nice voice?
Dr. Malcolm Take Heart.
No, I was gonna say me.
Oh, well, why didn't you give us a little song?
But everybody's got Take Heart on the brain, don't they? Well, that's fine.
You do have a wonderful
don't.
voice too.
Me and Take Heart are just professional friends.
There's his bike. Good God, it was so good to be on the back of that bike. It felt so good. My God.
I'm glad. I drove myself over there.
The one with the big wheels?
No, not that one.
Oh, this. I see.
This. It's a lovely car.
It's a lovely one. It's a blue. Okay. Alright, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting you to be driving. I don't know if you should be driving, April.
I'm a wonderful driver.
Oh
Don't
yes,
you
but
worry.
I'm sure you are. You trained paramedic for a long time. All right, chuck him in with us. Adrenaline. Okay.
You don't need the bike. It's okay. Oh, down you go.
All right, I'll get him.
Door just slammed into his head.
Hey, Captain.
Go, I feel like I'm 18 again.
Oh, I feel fine now.
can't stand. Is that you, LaRue? Hey.
Hey. Oh, I think
Hey.
maybe you might need to jump in and I can give you my
How's it
keys.
going?
Oh, you might have. I might have to give the keys to the doctor here.
Yeah, so if you get out the car.
Which is the keys, I think it gives.
Hey, LaRue.
Hey, take hands.
You get out the car, April.
Give me a call sometime.
I'm trying.
There you go.
All right.
My ID is 83.
There you go.
Be safe, you.
Oh no, this won't work either.
Did you get my
Okay,
keys?
I've got
No.
keys there. If you want to go to the passenger seat there.
I thought it worked. I didn't
I
work
feel
like I
a
thought
lot
it
better
worked.
now, to be honest. It's just those shots were very, very strong.
I'm starting to feel a little bit better too.
Well, hopefully some fresh air will do the job. We'll keep the door open, give you some fresh air. Oh, maybe not. Your arm is going to be very refreshed.
That's fine by me. Are we going to the hospital?
That's right. Gonna give you some IV, sober you up.
Ooh, sounds nice. Maybe if I just stick my head out of the window here.
Yeah, just if you're gonna spew out the window.
Yes, this is a good car.
This is a good car. Dear God.
Oh, there goes
Dr. Happenstance.
Yes.
Has T-Cart still got his top off?
He has, yes, it feels great.
Oh.
Do we
I'm
know where
glad
his
you're
top
holding
went?
him.
It feels good.
Do we know where his top went?
Oh, it always comes off. He always finds another one. That car door is slamming on his head and he's not reacting, so he has to be okay.
It feels good. It hurts me so good.
It hurts so good.
We're here.
Thank you, officer.
Brilliant. What great work.
Officer, that was such a lovely...
Let's go and get you hooked up to an IV.
Speaking of a hookup, what are you doing after this?
Well, that depends on what you're doing after this.
I'm going on a date with April.
Oh, no. I was hoping to take you down to the pier.
I beg your pardon?
Go for a lovely walk along the beach in the starlight.
That sounds nice, actually. Maybe we can do that.
I'm going to try my best, but you might bounce off and land on the floor, but you're used to it.
Perfect. Perfect. Huh?
Oh, dear. Didn't even bounce, just went straight down. Right, I'm going to hook you up with an IV.
I'll be honest with you, I'm having trouble standing up.
I'm not surprised. You're probably pissed as a newt, sir.
I'm going to try something. Bear with me.
Right. It's coursing through your very veins.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
I think he's still drinking.
Where did he get the bottle?
I don't know. Look at the state of his armpits, though. My God. Filthy.
No, don't. I'm.
Do you reckon that the tase would
Oh. My God. He just vanished.
Doctor?
What's happening? I've never seen anything like this. Bear, have you ever seen anything like this?
Oh, gosh.
I was about to tase him to see if that would wake him up, but maybe he'll come back.
Dear God. He's literally drunk himself into oblivion.
This hospital is haunted, though. Maybe the ghosts got him.
The ghost. Where's Serenge?
I think we just.
This is his specialty. I've heard talk of people passing into another plane.
How does that happen?
I don't know. It's a weird occurrence that occasionally happens. It's almost like you're the only person here, even though there's other people here. Oh my god!
Okay.
Oh,
Where did you go? What happened?
I'm feeling a little bit better now.
Where did you disappear to?
I just took a quick sleep under the bed. It's my happy place, you see.
Oh, we thought you'd disappeared into some kind of different plane of existence.
No different planes of existence for this human.
Oh, we
Okay, human was a weird word to use, but okay.
You don't need to worry about me. I'm feeling much better, Happenstance. Thank you for taking care of me.
My pleasure. I'll always take care of you. Whoa! Dear God, you look silent when you arrive, like an assassin.
Oh, Charlotte, I tend...
Charlotte, you just appear out of
I
nowhere.
tend to blend into the background. People don't really notice when I walk into the room.
How are you feeling, Charlotte?
Okay. How are you? Are you feeling better?
I am feeling a little better. My arm's a little sore, but other than that, I'm feeling okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, you fell down on your arm quite a bit.
Yeah, you've also had car doors slammed multiple times in your head.
Private, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh, Bear, how are we gonna get you home?
I can walk to the BD. I've
your toes look fantastic. You get those done.
Yes, these are my lucky flip flops. So
oh, they're very
because
nice.
I'm pretty much always wearing them. We've got to keep the toes nice, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
How, like, what, every 2 days getting the pedicure? What's the routine?
Yeah, it's once a week. Yeah.
I
wear these flip flops underneath my boots when I work as well. What I'm starting to do is I'm starting to slowly stop wearing boots and see who recognizes that I'm not wearing boots, and then eventually one day I might be able to wear these flip flops just by themselves on duty.
Oh. Be great to be able to be on duty and not wear regulation clothing.
Yeah.
Imagine someone doing that. I can't imagine it.
Can never do it now.
Good lord, you. Jeans was very tight as well.
Oh yeah, got to show the thighs off.
Get those calves on display, like the Royal Welsh show.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna head back to the PD now.
All right. Thank you very much for your assistance tonight, Bear.
No worries.
One of Quiet City's finest.
Oh, thank you.
You okay, Adrenaline?
Yep.
You feeling sober now, April?
Yeah, I feel I had a very strong coffee and a lot of water. Those shots were very, very strong. I only had a couple.
Ellie was saying it was just Irish cream and orange. That's all it was. But it had such a powerful effect on everyone.
There must be something in adrenaline. Okay.
I don't know. He said he was, but it doesn't look it.
Adrenaline, is everything okay? Are you sure? Why do you want to get into the lab?
Oh. Hello there.
Doctor. Nurse. Let's give these two some privacy, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get changed.
It seems to be a bit of an awkward energy around the place at the moment.
It's very awkward. I don't know what's going on. I need to get changed as well, but I'll wait.
You see, we all need to wait.
Oh gosh.
Now, sir, you put your bike levers on, but your bike is back at the
Stinky's arrived.
It's a different
Brad,
bike I'm after.
Thank you so
I'll be
much for
right
the
back.
follow. Welcome on in. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
It's a different bike I'm going for. I'll be
Oh,
right
I could
back.
give you a lift is what I was going to say.
If you could just give me a lift to the Pillbox garage, that'd be perfect.
Sure. So you have more than one bike?
I do.
What do you call the other bike?
It doesn't have a name yet.
Ah, you have a good night too. Well, whatever time it may be in.
Captain LaRue, it's a pleasure to hear from you. Yes, I'm sorry. I may have enjoyed myself at that party a little bit too much, but it was fun, you know? It's nice to let my hair down every now and again. It absolutely is not.
Is it?
But if it was, I wouldn't mind you cuffing me.
Dear God.
Of course not. How have you been, Leah? Not so bad, you know. It's getting a little difficult at the hospital sometimes. People just don't seem to follow orders very well. Yes, I think there needs to be a few attitude checks thrown around. That's right. Leah, have you seen my new motorcycle? Are you at the police department? I'll swing by. Take care. Thank you, Douglas.
It's an honor, sir.
You can be the first person to see me on this.
Oh, even more of an honor. Whoopsie. Good God, look at those lights. What is...
What do you think?
Well, it's, I think I prefer a more classic style.
Well, I don't know. I feel like this gets me a little bit noticed.
Oh,
I'm just going to swing
can't deny
down
that.
the PD now. I won't be a second.
I'll see you shortly. Sorry, is anyone responding to that? I had my radio off. Bulliff Wells? I don't know what Bulliff Wells is. What's Bulliff Wells? I'm blanking here, Hereford. I'm blanking. Oh, of course. I was thinking of his name of a person. I was like, who's Bulliff Wells? And I was trying to think it was a character. I mean, it's a good name for a character. Oh wait, hang on, I missed the turn. Missed the turn. What this game does to you. Makes you hear everything as a name. What was something earlier on? Alan Key. Like, how have we not had an Alan Key yet? Yes, yeah.
How come you're armed?
I'm armed.
Yeah,
Oh.
you got a taser in your hand, dude.
That was a slip of my muscle.
That's that. These things happen. That's all right. Everything all right, dude?
Everything's okay. You okay? You seemed a little tense earlier.
No, yeah, all good. I just wanted a minute of alone time with Charlotte, you know. So.
I see. Is that difficult to get around the hospital?
Yeah, well, the hospital is quite busy, and then, we were at the party, and it was all very loud, and,
Well, things seem a bit... I don't want to jinx it, but things seem a bit...
Don't you fucking say it. Don't you fucking say it.
Unbusy. I'm just saying, maybe you could just take it out to Burger Shot for an hour.
Yeah, maybe. I need to get this car back to Bert, though, so I'll see you around, okay, Dak?
Okay, I'll see you around here. Maybe mechanic Alan Key. It's good, isn't it? I adopt the Toast of London method for Happenstance and other characters that may be appearing soon. Hello there. Are you okay?
No. Hey. How you doing?
I'm really good, thanks you. How are you?
Pretty good.
Are you in need of medical assistance?
Yeah. I got hit by a car.
You got hit by a car?
Yeah.
Sore ribs. I'm gonna just prescribe some painkillers then.
Ah, excellent. Well done.
Oh, thank you. That's very appreciated.
Now that should make you right as rain.
Yeah. I hope I don't hurt any internal bleeding.
Did the nurse perform checks?
Sorry?
Did the nurse perform any checks to make sure there wasn't any internal bleeding?
No.
Oh, I see. So where is it hurting you?
My ribs.
Mainly the ribs?
Yes.
Well, I can take you for a quick scan if you like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, follow me.
Thank you. You look quite fancy for the doctor.
I've just come from a party, see?
Oh.
Don't worry, I haven't touched a
business.
drop of drink at all.
Yeah, it's all wrong with me.
And what? Sorry, what was your name?
Oh, yeah. My name's Joe.
Pleasure to meet you, Dr. Douglas Happenstance.
Oh, that was...
Right. What I'm going to ask you to do is climb up on this table and then lie down. So you use your T muscle.
Yeah, I got that.
And then you're going to be thinking, kind of need a slash at the moment. And E.
I get that.
And lie. I'm going to think I'm going to lie.
Nope.
You in the military? Okay, you can sit.
almost.
Sitting will do.
Yeah, I think so helps.
Sorry, you're a military man.
I am indeed, sir.
Right, you're gonna hear some strange noises. Honk, 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 honk. Bah, 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 bah. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Right, it'll take a moment for the results to process.
All right.
So we're just going to check for any internal bleeding. My suspicion it'll just be bruised ribs, but we'll double check.
Yeah, safe to check.
If there is internal bleeding, I may need to open you up and perform some sutures internally.
Well, heck away, doctor. Heck away.
I'm actually the resident surgeon here.
Oh, well, I'm in good hands. Well, except for the machine. That machine sounds like it needs fixed.
No, those are the noises it's supposed to make. But yes, you're right. Look at these hands. Take a look at these hands.
They're quite shaky.
Oh, they are, aren't they? Not usually that shaky. I
Are
think
you
it's
sure
an optical
you've not been
illusion
drinking
before.
at that party?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't, but I did have to deal with a very drunken doctor who has gone off duty now.
No, I see.
Right. Just going to quickly check your results. I can see you in there.
Oh.
Yes, it's looking good. No breakages. Yes, I suspected just some bruising, though painkillers should hopefully do the job for you.
Oh, that's great.
No signs of internal bleeding, but if you do feel things persist, come back and we'll do further tests.
Oh, thank you again. You're the guy I come to if everything's bad.
Well, either me or one of my colleagues. We're all here to just help people and save lives.
Well, I appreciate the check, Doc.
You're most certainly welcome. Right, you're good to get off the table now.
Doctor?
I was wondering if you'd like to go on that date now.
Oh yes, are you feeling better?
I'm feeling much better.
Well, as I say, if you've any further problems, you come straight back here, okay?
Should I get changed, actually?
All right. Well, thank you once again, Doctor. You've been a real lifesaver.
Oh, that really means a lot. Thank you very much.
All right. You take care now.
You too.
See you.
What about you two? Are you going anywhere nice today?
Well, that's just what we're just gonna find out, you know.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
thinking of taking April over to the pier. It's supposed to be
Pier?
nice over there. Yes.
Yeah,
What?
I spoke with her, yesterday.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, there's some nice
Yeah.
sights out there.
Nice sights, huh? Good. Good. Well, I'll let you know what I find down there. I'm sure it would be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Boo.
You take care of each other.
Boo.
April,
Are
good?
you okay, Happenstance?
Oh, thank you.
Happenstance.
A boo.
What the fuck, dude?
I think he's crying.
A boo.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on that. Happenstance.
A boo.
Pull yourself together, dude.
There.
More like Dr. Breakheart.
Oh.
That was pretty good, wasn't it? It was pretty good, yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you have a thing for take heart, Douglas?
A thing? A thing implies something small.
Oh, you've got a.
And I'm gonna go off duty.
Yeah, cool. You've got something big for take heart?
Too right, I do.
And he
My
won't let
heart!
You won't let him give you your big heart?
He won't take it from me.
Well, he seems to have eyes for April, dude.
This
Sometimes
is
that
the thing.
happens.
And this is the thing I was saying, let's go down to the pier. I was saying to him, and he's taken the very idea that I was giving him for us to do, and they're going down the pier.
Well, I mean, you didn't invent the concept to go into the pier. I took
Well,
Charlie
he hadn't
yesterday,
thought of
so
it. He hadn't even heard of it when I suggested it.
Okay, I'm sure he had heard of the concept of piers, but I get what you're
I
saying.
don't think he did. He was like, oh, do you mean Morgan? No, I was like, no.
All right, well, we get out of here then.
I guess I'll just... Oh, sorry, I've just realized I've been shouting this whole time. Apologies.
No, that's all right. I do that a lot.
I guess I'll just stand
It's
here
okay.
alone then. Have a lovely
You
night.
have a nice voice, so it's okay if everyone can hear it. Okay.
Is that
here's,
Susie? Look, there you go.
Susie.
You can have a chat with Susie Happenstance.
Yeah.
Hey, Susie.
Hello?
Susie Happenstance
Susie Wynn.
is really upset. Take care of that.
No, I need treatment. I need treatment.
I'm here. I can give you treatment. What do you need? Is that helmet stuck on your head? Oh, there you go.
I need an ice pack for my face.
What's happened to your face?
Fallen over off my bike too many times.
Oh no, do you feel like you're losing blood at the moment? I see a slight cut on your face.
No, yeah, I think it's just a small graze. Probably needs a bit of pseudocreme.
Needs a bit of pseudocreme. Best thing for that is some tissue. Wet tissue and just dabbing it on. Let's get that sorted. Follow me.
Thank you. I'm not going to need stitches, am I?
I hope not. But if you do need them, I'm the man to give them.
It's very quiet today around here.
Oh, don't say that. That always changes things. But everyone's out on dates, and I've just been left here by myself.
Who's on a date?
Take Heart and April.
Oh, I
Adrenaline and the nurse.
Oh, are you feeling lonely?
Boo!
Should I just sit down in the chair?
Yes, have a sit in the chair. I'll have a look. Look at the strength of your legs there.
You've got to keep them toned. I just don't think romantic relationships within the workplace are a good idea.
I was the same until I met Take Heart.
He's the chief of medicine. It's like an abuse
Still
of
easy
power.
066, eh?
Yep.
I'll be there, isn't it?
So just taking a look at this cut here.
Ow.
Sorry. Trying to be gentle.
Is it going to scar?
No, I think you're going to be absolutely fine. As I say, wet tissue.
Wet tissue solves everything, right?
Exactly. First thing they teach you.
Don't forget the pseudocreme though.
Do you need some? Surely you could just scrape some off from the other day and just apply that.
Have you got any Calpol as well?
We've only got the orange flavour. Is that okay?
Fuck's sake, why would you have the orange flavour and not the original?
Medical cuts. Budget cuts.
Bloody Tory government.
Like the Tories here in the USA.
Oh, what are they called here? Fuck the
Republicans.
Republicans, that's the one.
Now I'm going to be very gentle here. Now I have to also say, you may notice there's no sink in this room, so I just had to spit all over it. Okay, here it comes.
Fucking stings!
Sorry.
What the fuck? What have you been drinking? It stings.
I haven't actually drunk a drop.
Oh, it's like sandpaper.
Oh, don't say that word. I don't like sandpaper. It freaks me out.
I told you just to put the pseudocreme on. This is
But
medical negligence.
I'm gonna give you something right now, okay? This is secret, so don't tell anyone about it. This is from my secret supply, just for you.
You've been stashing the fucking strawberry Calpol.
No, I got it shipped over from Nicaragua. Yeah, down it.
Oh, I love this stuff.
So good, isn't it? One point when I was younger, I think I was genuinely addicted to it.
I was, when I was a kid, I used to take it up to my bedroom and hide all the sachets under my pillow.
See, I'd get the bottle and drink it straight from the bottle.
That's hardcore.
It's pretty hardcore. Think about it now. Probably quite dangerous.
I think my parents were trying to ration it out, thinking that the sachets would be better, but they were easier to hide than the bottle.
Yes, you could just hide it in between pages of books.
Yeah, between my Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire book that I was reading.
God, you'd fit a lot in there. So there's a big one, that one.
Yeah, took a long time to read. Fucking pages long.
Now, it
It
looks
was
like you're...
Prisoner of Azkaban. That was like a light read. That was like, it was enjoyable. Goblet of Fire, it was like trying to get through the Bible or something.
triple length. Now, your cuts seems... There's no more bleeding. It doesn't seem big enough to need any stitching at all. I can't
put
see
some
any
pseudocrem
marks. Fresh pseudocrem, or would you like me to get some of the previously applied?
Fresh, please.
Okay. I mean, it was weird enough the first time, so I'm glad that's the answer.
Just not so much this time because it is going on my face.
Just one single globule coming.
Yes, just a little dab. Ah, it fucking stinks! I can't take it! Take it off! Take it off, please! Take it off!
Hang on, how can I take it off? Yeah. Oh, this was left over from when the place got redecorated.
Oh, it stings. Happenstance, I'm making a complaint about medical negligence. This is fucking ridiculous.
I'm
My
sorry,
face is
sometimes these things hurt.
burning.
Sometimes these things hurt. Okay, you ready?
Ow! Ow!
Do you need another Calpol?
Yeah. Give me all the Calpol you've got.
There you go. A little something extra too.
Give me all the Calpol you've got now.
Oh, whoa,
Empty your
whoa.
pockets.
Let's not get hasty here.
Empty your pockets.
You're our head of security. I'll report you.
I will report you for medical negligence. Give me all the Calpol you've got right now. Empty your pockets.
Let's not do this, Susie.
Happenstance.
By God. By God.
I don't want your orange shite. I want the strawberry flavour. I'll know if you don't give it all to me.
Don't need any
What's
trouble
so hard,
here.
was it? Make sure next time you don't burn my bloody face off.
Be careful, I don't want you to OD. Dear God. By God. Oh, this won't end well for you, Susie. You're gonna get a dependency.
It's so good.
I know, but we have to limit ourselves. Perhaps.
Oh, I'm starting to feel a bit.
Well, that's all mine, but now my stock's low. Maybe we're gonna have to go into business together to see if we can source some.
Well, can you give me a first aid kit or something, or just? I know I've just threatened you.
I mean, yes, you have just threatened me with a baseball bat.
It was a pool cue.
A pool cue? You play pool?
Yeah.
We should play pool
I've been to
sometime.
pool
That'd be
player.
great.
Yeah, please, the first aid kit.
Oh, there it is. I did it the long-fashioned way for some reason. Pick it up. Let's do it this way. I look away. I put one down. And if I look away and it's suddenly
I can't use
gone...
it on myself, can I?
I have no idea.
I think you have to do it too. You have to use it on me.
Oh, you genuinely need one?
Yeah. I'm not feeling great. I fell off my bike a few times. I think one more fall and I'll end up bleeding out.
Okay, let's get this on you. Wrap it around there. That feel better?
Much better, yeah. Thank you. Well, I think we can just forget all this, can't we, really? We can forget about all this.
It's going to be hard to forget.
Well, you didn't do great then, let's be honest.
Well, let's put it this way. You don't have a mark on your face anymore. You've got a bunch of Calpol. Things have worked out pretty well for you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't have had all that cardboard.
Yeah, I think I might have to. You may need a stomach pumping.
I'll let you know how I get on. All right, I best head out with onto my bike. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea.
It's only Calpol.
But the quantity of it you've drank.
But one sachet is for like a child. I'm a fully grown woman.
And I just gave you 24 sachets.
Oh, fucking hell. I didn't realise it was that many.
It's a whole pack, a whole box of it. And it was medical grade. Thank you.
Oh. Right, thank you again.
My pleasure.
No, it's definitely nice to, you know, meet
not
people like yourself, you know?
Not like a boxer.
Yeah, you gotta do that. Maybe we should organize a bird meetup.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, Paw Patrol.
Maybe there's birds you just...
Well, that's a big game.
Did you have a nice time at the pier, April?
I went to the observatory. It was lovely.
So he didn't take you to the pier?
No, we went to the observatory. It was much more romantic.
Nothing's more romantic than the pier.
The observatory is.
Don't think it is. Where's the Ferris wheel? God damn it!
Oh, I didn't need to ride on a Ferris wheel. I had a wonderful ride as it is.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. How you doing, Hootie?
No, the back of the motorbike.
Oh, I see. That his new motorbike. I have to say, as much as I like Descartes, I don't know if I like that new motorbike.
Oh, hold on. I have a phone call. Oh no, I don't have a phone call now. That was weird.
Yeah, you do.
With all the spikes on the back. I don't know. I don't like. I prefer the classic one. Oh, he took.
Oh,
What's
I
that
just
all
went the
about?
classic
Yeah, well, I
one.
mean, we just get hit by
are you shouting by any chance?
driving a
That's
car, so, I
strange.
mean, you know,
Oh, I am
I think
shouting.
we're
Hold on.
socialising, we're-
It's been a crazy night, but
I didn't realise I was shouting.
Yeah, it seems like that party was a bit buzzing, like.
Yeah, well, that's why we're all shouting about the place.
So, I mean, that'd be easy for you, though. You just pat your own leg up.
Oh, you would think. But,
Has anyone seen Charlotte or Adrenaline?
Oh,
I think they've gone out for a little date.
Yeah, they borrowed my car for a bit, so I think it'll be up to
Oh, I hope
Yeah,
they're
to
having
get
a lovely time.
doctor to
Yeah, me
If
too.
you do see them, let me know.
Well, you think a doctor
Sure,
can take
can
care
do.
of the doctor, but the doctor can't take care of the doctor.
It's crazy. Kind of mixed up, topsy-turvy, crazy world is this?
It's very strange. I guess it's the
Right, I'm gonna log off in one moment.
Hey there.
Boo hoo 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 hoo. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Boo hoo 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 hoo.
Who's boo-hoo-hooing?
Boo hoo 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 hoo. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Boo hoo 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 hoo.
Oh, sorry, Happenstance. I didn't mean to bump into you there with the door.
It's okay, don't you worry about it. This is Happenstance signing off.
Good night.
Sleep well, buddy.
Stay safe, save lives. Cool. What a night of drama, everyone. What a night of drama. It has been. That's all I've got to say. I can't add to that. Nothing to be added. Let's see who's on to raid. Well, since we were just there, it's got to be Jaffa, right? See how the Calpol progresses. Bye bye. in a
I've always
moment.
said how much I love antennas.
We can hear her talking now. I don't like the hosting thing is you have this awkward moment where you can't click to go straight there, so you have to open them up first so you can see what's happening. But anyway,
I don't know much
thanks
about
everyone.
them, but that looks
Have
like
a good night.
antenna to me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Of all the antennas I've ever seen, this